Hello and welcome to a new video on API 578 Material Verification Program for new and existing equipments. This series is good for the people who are going to prepare for API ICP examination and also the people who are working in shutdown and maintenance operation. You just need to want to understand the Material Verification Program requirements or API 578 requirements. This video is for them. So this is the last video of the series. We'll be looking at section 7, 8 and 9. So section 7 talks about that what should be the acceptance criteria once you have done the test. So section 5 was owner. So some guidelines were given to the owner that what should be in a material verification program. In section 6, it talked about what are some technologies that you can use to identify the materials or do a positive material identification on a material. Section 7 are going to talk, they are going to talk about that once the testing is done, what should be the acceptance criteria. In that case, in most cases, whatever the material specification that you are using, whatever the code it needs to conform to, you'll get this requirement there. So if you are having an electrode, you will be generally looking at ASME section 2. If you have another material, you might go for ASME section 2 or you might go for ASTM steel requirements or ASTM code for the requirements of steel. So depending on whatever is written there, you might correlate your results and you might go for an acceptance or rejections. So evaluation of the testing results, the material acceptance method, the owner user may elect one of the following methods for material acceptance. The materials can be confirmed to contain normal amounts of following elements specified in the relevant material specification. Example is going to be ASME section 2 or some ASTM specifications. The materials can be classified through qualitative sorting technique to establish the conformance with the intended material. When PMI indicates that the alloying elements are outside the ranges indicated in the material specification, the owner user may still choose to allow the use of tested materials in the situation where the person is knowledgeable of the appropriate damage mechanisms, confirm that the material will perform satisfactorily in service. If the testing using one of the portable or qualitative analysis method lead to the potential rejection of the component, a more accurate analysis may be used to determine the component acceptance. So these 4 points are given for the owner user to develop an acceptance criteria for material verification program. Once you identify a non-conformity, then what needs to be done? So if any one of the representative sample is rejected, all items of that inspection lot should be considered as suspect. A more extensive inspection of the remaining lot should be considered by the material verification program. Material identification, various ways of material identification are there. So alloy materials should be identified by the alloy designation or nominal composition. The examples of some acceptable methods are color coding by alloy, low stress stamp marking indicating that test has been performed, documentation showing both PMI results and PMI locations. Color coding and marking, if the material verification program procedure established by owner user requires a visual identification such as color coding or marking, the owner user should maintain a record of alloy material color code combinations. Marking of components, if the owner user documentation process requires a physical marking of the equipment component, it should specify one of the following: whether or not the marking system should remain legible for the expected life of the component without deterioration due to corrosion or elevated temperature, whether or not the marking system is only temporary to facilitate proper handling and identification from the point of PMI to the final point of installation. This marking can be semi-permanent paint applied to each item. Just make sure that the paint should not have any other chemical that is going to harm our component. Most cases zinc is avoided. The marking should not contain additives such as metallic pigments, aluminium, lead or zinc, sulfur or chlorides. Section 9, documentation and record keeping. So again, a recommendation given to the owner user. Shop and field PMI documentation. Those individuals performing PMI should obtain and follow the PMI procedure approved by the owner user. This procedure should include technique used, equipment calibration, qualification requirements of the PMI personnel, testing methodologies and documentation requirements. New and existing equipment or system documentation. When PMI is conducted on new or existing asset and systems, the record of the result should be kept as long as the equipment exists in its original condition. If the equipment or a portion of the equipment that has not received material verification is relocated, the owner user should consider the need of PMI prior to placing the relocated component into service. PMI records. The typical PMI record should contain following: reference to PMI procedure, date of testing, test instrument identification number or serial number where appropriate, name of each person performing the test, results of the test. Basis: an action for resolving, documenting PMI non-conformances, including those that have been left in service. Documentation of the criteria used for prioritization of equipment or system and the extent of PMI performed. The information listed in the point of installation. Alternatively, the owner user may choose to include within the written material verification procedure. When included in the owner user written material verification procedure, the date and edition number of the written procedure should be documented in the test records. So very simple document, 16 pages you have to read. Then you have some amount of annexes that are available here. This annexes will tell you what are some statistical definitions are there. Some bibliography, that is some codes that they refer to here. And that's it. This was all for this series of API 578. In the next series, we'll be talking about something else. That's it for this video. Thank you.